Hello everyone and welcome to the How Good Are We? Where today we're going to talk more about, well, the characters that I've talked about already in the news sections where new characters have been uncapped. We need to talk about those uncapped characters, but because I've already made a video about these guys before, we're not going to talk about them for too long. It's going to be rather quick videos actually, so yeah, we're going to see how long this takes, but I assume it's not going to take very long because these two characters are not actually that interesting and they didn't get that much on 5 stars. So we're going to start with Corbeau. And Corbeau has the following. We see that she is an attack type with 2 charge 2 blasters, so maybe charged blast character, okay. Stats are alright, they're not too terrible, but they're not really great either, they're kind of average. With in fact a little bit more HP, but you know, it's supposed to be an offensive character, although they did have HP growth, whatever. If we take a quick look at their personal, we see some MP gain down, some regenerate HP. So apparently the MP gain down is going to be important because of some stuff that we're going to see later, but MP gain down is an effect that is rather rare. You don't really see that too often, but is it good? Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit later at the very end of this video because we're going to see a lot of that. We're going to see a lot of that in here, not just in Corbeau. So if we scroll into the connect, of course, now that we got a 5-star on Corbeau, what do we get on the 5-star connect? So we got a little bit more attack. The aim resistance is the same, and chance to curse an attack 100%. That's, I mean, it's not terrible. It's not terrible, but it's really not great either. It's kind of a sort of meh connect that you just fire off and then it does something and you go, oh, okay. You don't really like expect anything special from it. Sure, curse can be nice, but curse can also not do a whole lot, especially against multi-tile bosses. Of course, if you connect to someone, that someone then has to actually hit all the enemies. Enemies you don't hit can't be cursed. Of course, enemies might have resistances, they might have immunities, blah blah blah. And then of course, if you one-shot an enemy, then of course you can't put an ailment on an enemy that you're just killing. So there are many different situations in which this doesn't do anything. But let's at least keep in mind that she has the chance of putting curse, at least 100% chance now on her connect, which is quite alright. We take a look at her Magia, we see that it got defense down. The defense down didn't change at all to 5-star. The chance to curse went up by 5%. Okay, sure, the 5% is definitely going to make a difference. Still only for 1 turn, sadly. And the chance to poison went from 42 to 100% at least, so that's something. At least now it's guaranteed poison. But once again, ailments, not really that amazing, especially since it doesn't do anything else. Like, sure, defense down, but defense down just 30%. First off, it's not a whole lot. Secondly, defense down doesn't really do that much in most PvE stages unless you specifically have a stage where enemies have a crap ton of defense, and those are very rare. There's maybe like one every few months that they have a quest where they actually make enemies in PvE that have a lot of defense. And in Mirrors, you don't really care too much about getting a random charge blast character to Magia. So yeah, the defense down is kind of pointless, and the poison and curse not that amazing either. And look down at the doppel. Of course, damage goes up, the defense down is still exactly the same as it is on Magia, which is 30% at Magia level 5. We still have the 3-turn poison 100%, but now the curse chance has gone up to 100%. That's basically the only difference to doppel. The damage doesn't really count as a difference, is that now you have 100% curse chance, which it's better, but not by a whole lot. So this is kind of dumb, especially because it's really hard to get this character to doppel. So you spend, if you want to get her to doppel or even to Magia, you're spending a bunch of effort to not really get anywhere, because this Magia and this doppel have no impact, nor does it help her that much. It still helps a little bit because Spirit Enhancement. If we look at the Spirit Enhancement, we do actually see that she does have Addict Kill at 20%. So yeah, if you do put some stats image on the enemy, she'll have an easier time hitting, and I guess that's kind of the idea behind her, that you get some ailments on characters, on enemy characters, and then you can use your own Addict Kill to do a little bit more damage, which I guess is fine. But the extra step of having to apply an ailment first and then still hitting that means that you can only do this against enemies that take at least 2 hits to kill. And even then, 20% more much damage isn't going to make that big of a difference unless you're fighting like really big bosses. And if you're fighting really big bosses, if they have multiple tiles, Against multi-tile bosses, ailments are really terrible, so it also doesn't really do much in that case. So there's many different cases right now where Addicula, especially when you don't have like an active application that's very simple, like I say, an active SE skill, or it's a character that very quickly gets to Magia, and then the Magia has like 5 turns, ailments or whatever. So if you have a character that doesn't have that amazing access to ailments with a snap of a finger, then Addicula is also a bit worse. So yeah, there's like many different things that make Addicula not that great, especially on this character. So sorry, Corbeau, it just doesn't work out. What else do we have on here? Some other disc bonuses, sure, some evade, some crit, because she's an attacker and you just get evade and crit on those. At least we also have some anti-evade, that's cool. And we have some chance to poison attack and chance to curse on attack. I assume the poison is at least 2 or 3 turns. It doesn't say here, but probably is more than 1 turn. So at least it's nice that you can afflict more poison, more curse on attack, which is fine. More ways of getting ailments out, but even so, I just don't think any of this is enough to make her a great character. She's just gonna be alright if you're playing an ailment team on specific quest nodes, then yeah, she might be alright at best. Mostly because this stuff is just not enough to make it work. The active is MP damage, which you already saw from her personal. MP gain down, so we have MP gain down, we have MP damage, MP restore to self, bunch of MP shenanigans going on. The MP restore to self is actually quite alright. I mean, her Magia and double aren't that great, but at least it's something that she can do to give her some sort of advantage in a battle. The MP damage, though, is pointless. We're gonna get to that later again, because guess what? There's another character, and that other character also has MP damage, MP gain down, and all that sort of stuff on there. So let's head over to Lapine. What does she have? Well, she's a defense type. And if we look at her stats, yeah, that's a lot of defense. That is quite a lot of defense. She didn't actually get as much defense from 4-star to 5-star as I thought she would. But even so, she has a really decent amount of defense, especially for basically a low rated character, having 12.5k defense. And an alright amount of HP, yeah, that's pretty good. She's gonna be pretty tanky. If you look at her personal, it gives Endure more tankiness, Evade more tankiness. So yeah, it's a 7-turn cooldown active, so not that amazing. But I guess if you have like a fresh account and for some reason you want to tank, then sure, I guess you could use this. What else do we have? We have Connect. It gives blast damage up, attack up, and blast damage cut, which is for the most part rather aggressive, and also is more about being on a blast team. The question is this actually good? Well, not really anymore. Blast teams aren't really being played anymore in higher tier content, like they're not being played anymore in mirrors, in rank mirrors, that is. They're not being played anymore in Kimochi, and this is specifically a charge blast Kimochi, but on those, the charge part is more important than the blast part. And then you also have EX Quest and 100 Evils, where also blast isn't really played that much anymore, mostly because there's so many Magia characters that can just snap their finger, get to Magia, and then instantly one-shot everything and win on the spot. Even if you aren't a whale, you can get access to these tools in not that long of a time. So blast really isn't really that much part of the meta anymore. The only part where you really use blast anymore is blue auto farm. When you hit that blue auto button and you just want to farm a quest 30-40 times, when you do stuff like that, you want to have a blast character in there. But what you do on those quests is you have one blast character, preferably Ashley if you have her, with a blast character support, as a support, and then that's it. That's all you do. One blast character of your own with the blast support, done. Why would you put another character on that team? You're just gonna slow down your farming, right? Like a connect for blast is now only good from this point onwards if you're actually playing it on more difficult content, where you actually are not gonna auto battle through it, where you're gonna play manually, where you're gonna give this to other characters to then have good blast turns, which maybe you would do on EX 100 Evils, but like I said, on those, blasting is kind of a subpar strategy, suboptimal strategy, so these connects aren't really that important right now. But that said, if you are playing a blast team, it's actually alright. It's actually alright if you are playing a blast team to have this connect right here. It's totally alright. It's totally okay. The blast damage cut, however, yeah, doesn't really matter at all. Then we have the Magia and the Doppel. The Magier gives MP gain down. Oh, one more MP gain down. 50% to all enemies for 3 turns at Magier level 5. Awesome. MP damage to all enemies 30. Cool. Which hasn't changed from 4-star. And then we also get the MP restore itself 34 at Magier level 5, which also hasn't changed. The only thing that has changed at all is the damage from 4-star to 5-star. Great. Amazing Magier upgrade right here. Just the damage, nothing else. But guess what? Even if all these other numbers changed, wouldn't matter at all. Really wouldn't matter at all. Why? Because these effects are all terrible. MP gain down. When does that ever matter? 100 evils? Okay, here's the thing about 100 evils when it comes to that. Even if you're free to play, you can get access to tools that allow you to kill enemies rather quickly, even within a month of a new account. And once you're at that point, you just kill enemies so fast you probably don't see Magier. If you do get to see Magier, maybe you're playing a bit of a slower strategy. That's possible. Sometimes you play a bit of a slower strategy and you do get to see some enemy Magiers. You can maybe stun, charm, bind enemies. You can Magier seal enemies. You can, which not that important, but you could directly do that. You could Meteor Rain or just any attack down Memoria or damage down, combination of both attack down and damage down Memoria on the enemy. They're not going to do anything for that turn. You might have other actives on your characters. You might have other Memoria on your characters that might help you out as well, mitigate damage. You might have some other Magier that give either the enemy more attack down or stun, charm, whatever the enemy, or you have a Magier that gives you attack up, not attack up, defense up, a damage cut. You have something like Sana, for example, giving yourself really big defenses. Or even without all of those, the enemy Magier might not even do that much, right? Like there's many different ways of making an enemy Magier not really do anything. And because there's so many ways of screwing over an enemy Magier or not even seeing it in the first place, having someone whose entire Magier is dedicated to screwing over enemy Magier is kind of weird. There's also more parts to remember about this. Sometimes enemies that get to Magier in 100 evils, what they will do is they will just snap their finger and immediately get like outlawed up to Magier. Sometimes they'll give themselves like 100 MP, and if they give themselves 100 MP with a 50% MP gain down, they might not get to 50 MP, right? But sometimes they'll also give themselves more than 100 MP. Sometimes they give themselves 200 MP, just to be sure. And if they have a 50% MP gain down, they'll still get to Magier. This is the case with Kimochi, by the way. Kimochi give themselves, I think, like 999 MP, so you really, even with MP gain down, can't stop them. And of course, the MP damage part is also kind of useless against enemies that just snap their finger and give themselves a whole lot of MP, because then they might just use Magier immediately, and if they use Magier immediately, you can't MP damage them anymore before they Magier, so that's pointless. So both these effects are terrible. Like sure, then you might find maybe 1 or 2 quests where that is kind of useful sometimes, but overall, nah. And then you MP restore yourself. What is the point of MP restore? To use more Magier. What is the point of this Magier? Nothing. This Magier exists to make you use the Magier more, but the Magier doesn't do anything. So all you do is you just use a bunch of damage on a character that has no attack. Okay, what does the Doppel do? It does nothing. The Doppel is nothing. Ignore the Doppel, it's terrible as well. What a sprint enhancement? Well, she gets Endure in PvE once per quest, awesome. Which you also get, by the way, through her personal, of course. So 2 Endure chances in PvE, that's pretty alright, that's pretty pog right there. Some damage cuts, cool. Anti-skill seal, awesome. MP gain ups, alright. So overall, some pretty okay stuff here and there, but nothing too amazing. And then you get the Survive as an active. And yeah, there are some memes where you put Lapine solo into mirrors and show off that, hey, if you do solo mirrors with a character that has Survive active, they can do some cool stuff sometimes. Sure, I mean, yeah, but many characters can do that. Maybe not specifically that, but many characters can do like solo mirrors stuff, so she's not even that special in that sense. But it is a nice meme, I guess. So yeah, overall Lapine kind of doesn't quite work, and I've already explained with the MP gain down and MP damage down why the same aspect of Corbeau doesn't quite work as well. There's just way too little cases where that actually matters. Sure, maybe in the future, maybe like half a year from now, they're going to implement a whole bunch of stuff where MP Gain is actually really important, and then maybe we can come back to here, and I'm going to make like a news video. I'm like, hey, they're going to introduce this in the game, and now Corbeau and Lapine are actually kind of important because of MP damage down. But the game has been out for almost 4 years, and there still hasn't been a content where MP damage or MP Gain down was really important, right? Because in all of those cases where enemy markets were important, you could just meteor rain it. Or just, like I said, any attack down on the enemy, and it would basically do mostly the same. So kind of pointless, right? So overall, what are we left with? What are we left with? Corbeau, as a charged blaster, she's all about inflicting ailments on the enemies and then doing a bit more damage with Addict Killer. But because ailments are a little bit cumbersome, she doesn't have as good as access to ailments, and it's rarely access to ailments as some other characters do. I mean, sure, it looks like her Magia gives her a bunch, but she's a charge blast character. She's not going to get to Magia that quickly, so she has problems getting reliably making sure that enemies have ailments on them, and even then, Addict Killer is kind of limited right now, so she's not that amazing, but she's not terrible either, right? She's not terrible either. She can do some alright stuff. And then Lapine, she's actually a pretty decent tank because of her defensive stuff, because of her damage cut, her survive on PvE. You get the endure right here. You get the endure from her active, so on PvE she can tank decently well. Can she do anything else? No. And that's kind of sad. So yeah, that's that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.